elected officials, and let me just say a few words about our speaker. She has done so much in the New York City Council to promote LGBT rights, and it's just been an incredible year. But one piece of legislation that I'm probably the most proud of, that I worked with along with Councilmember Carlos Menchaca, was the municipal identification card. And it's been a resounding success. I think the numbers are at somewhere near 300,000 cards issued, 500,000 people wanting to get the card. And I have to tell you, Madam Speaker, I don't know if you know this, but I was in Las Vegas about 2 weeks ago. I shouldn't tell anybody, yes, but what happens in Vegas stays there. I went to see Bette Midler, actually. No, all right. And you can get discounts in Las Vegas, 20% off the shows, 20% off the Wax Museum, 20% off the museums if you present your New York City ID card. I'm dead serious. Now, I couldn't believe it myself, so I went up to my room, which was on the 19th floor, and as I sat down at the computer to figure out which things, which events, which places would accept the card, all of a sudden the wall goes like this. We had a 5.4 earthquake while I was there. So it was incredible. I thought I was going to go right out the window, really, to be honest with you, up there on the 19th floor. All that for a community ID discount, but what can I tell you, you know? Anyway, let me give the opportunity to our wonderful speaker, my dear good friend, Melissa Mark Viverito.
Good morning, happy Pride. I have to say that's really smart of Las Vegas to do that. You want to talk about promoting tourism. That is one way to get New Yorkers out there. That's really smart, actually. We've got to think about maybe accepting other municipal IDs and give discounts as a way of promoting tourism. Although we don't really need to promote tourism in New York City. But good morning to everybody. Buenos dias. It is a real pleasure to be here. I've been coming to, Danny is a dear, dear friend of mine. And I've been coming to this parade, even before being speaker, many years, I think almost since the beginning, that Danny's been an elected official. So it's always really great to be amongst friends, all of you that continue to advocate each and every day for equality in the city of New York, and to know that not only with me as speaker, but obviously with the largest LGBT and most diverse caucus that we have in City Council's history, we're going to continue to advocate each and every day for equality for every single person in New York City, and obviously that includes our LGBT brothers and sisters. So thank you for what you do. I look forward to marching with all of you, and let's keep moving ahead towards equality for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Speaker Mark Viverito. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our county leader, Congressman Joe Crowley. But let me just say one thing. Last week we stood in front of the post office to dedicate the post office to the memory of Jean and Jules Manford. Congressman Crowley has put in legislation to rename that post office. And so, Joe, we appreciate your leadership. We love you. We can't thank you enough. When marriage equality was a question, way back when, it was Joe Crowley and 2 other Congress members, out of all the members of the Congress, who came out onto the steps of the Congress to say that they support full marriage equality. Congressmember Crowley, thank you for what you do.
Thanks, Dan. It's good to be here as a speaker with Corey and with David as well. Toby, good to see you, my dear. Toby was one of those courageous senators a number of years ago when marriage equality was before the Senate. She consistently voted aye. We had to, she co-sponsored, we had to convince a number of Queens senators. In fact, I think the initial vote was 5-2, right? 5 against, 2-4. The next time the vote came up, after we did a little work, it was 7-0.
All right.
And that was when the book is written about how gay marriage equality was reached in New York, the road came through Queens, and it'll be a good book. I'm not writing it, I just won't admit it. And I just want to, out of personal pride, because Brendan gave me this little button that says top. You know what that is? That's Irish for yes. This is an original yes campaign button. And if you don't mind for a moment of personal privilege, how about those Irish? First country to pass by referendum, not by legislation.
Overwhelmingly.
Overwhelmingly, not by edict, but by the people themselves. And Brendan and I, we come from our family. Well, he was born in Louth, County Louth, where my grandfather came from. It's a wee county, the smallest county. And last week I said, how do we do in Louth? And he said, 67, was it? 64. Well, I think in some parts it was 67. But it got the highest vote, yes vote in the country, right? So it was remarkable to witness that and to take some pride. I was out last week, I was in the Irish Embassy Ambassador's residence in Washington, and I was throwing out, I thought, a softball question. I said, do you think the Irish diaspora in America and elsewhere helped bring about this change in Ireland? She said, no, I don't think so. I think the Irish people themselves are many light years away. And I said, and I'm thinking, well, maybe we had something to do with it. And I do think, in my own way, because I look at it and I think of, people like Danny Drum and Corey Johnson and Jimmy Van Bremer, and I think of Brendan and Tom and what they've done here in Queens for the St. Pat's for All. I think that did translate in his house, both in a positive and negative. One, that there were Irish people here in America that weren't bigots and wanted to stand for justice in the law, equal application of the law. And then the other is, I think, a little bit of disgust. Like, really, they're still fighting about who can march in a parade and who can't? That's still going on. So I think it did have some kind of an impact. But I think the most important thing was it was a demonstration of a four-letter word, L-O-V-E.
Yes.
And that's what I think was most important about what took place. And we have had some advancements and setbacks here. We're looking forward to more advancements and less setbacks. But it's been an incredible journey for me personally, and one that I'm never getting off. I'm just enjoying it so much. And we've been joined by Mike Gianaris, the other consistent yes vote in the state senate. So I'm going to turn it back to Danny. Thank you all. Yeah, get those Irish flags flying today, Brandon. There you go.
Thank you so much, Joe, and thank you for all of your support. Our speaker wants to make another announcement.
No, I forgot to mention, when we talk about the March Towards Equality, it was reported yesterday that Guam, which is one of the U.S. territories, like Puerto Rico is one of the U.S. territories, is the first U.S. territory to fully legalize gay marriage. And so we were hoping to be the first, as Pedro Julio can attest, but that March for Equality, whatever happens in the Supreme Court, and I believe it will be a favorable result, is one that also applies to the territory. So we hope to see equality in Puerto Rico soon. So thank you all for what you do, because it is that advocacy and that consistency to demand full equality that we've achieved and we've gotten to where we are today.
Thank you, Melissa. Now I'd like to introduce to you another very good friend of the community, someone whose support is always there for the LGBT community. That is our public advocate, Tish James. We love you, Tish.
So, it's really unfortunate that we still have to fight for equal rights for all individuals, right? Individuals, unfortunately, we're still facing racism, sexism, and of course the LGBT community has not been respected. But you know what? We march on. And it's the sounds of feet marching, I think, that will transform this country. And so we march today, we march with pride, we march with allies, we march with everyone, we march with those we love. We march in solidarity with you today because this is a great day. I look forward to marching with you today. I look forward to marching with you in Brooklyn, in Bronx, in Staten Island, and the great Manhattan.
And we've been joined by my colleague, and that's what I was going to say too. 3/4 of the Irish caucus in the city council are gay people. So imagine that. We got to turn that fourth one gay too. Elizabeth Crowley.
Good luck, Danny.
Good luck on that. She's getting married in about. Very shortly she's getting married to a man. I have to make that clear. But another member of the LGBT caucus and the Irish caucus. Let's hear it for Corey Johnson.
The one thing that you all know already, which is why you are here, is that Danny Drum, and I can say this, I think, hopefully my colleagues in the LGBT caucus wouldn't be offended by this because it's true. every committee hearing we have, every time there's an opportunity to speak to a commissioner or someone senior in an agency or with the mayor, Danny is constantly bringing up LGBT issues. No matter what the occasion is, Danny is bringing it up. Which is why we've seen so much progress in the past year with the Department of Education, because Danny is our amazing education chair in the council, and he has personal protections for LGBT youth. I just want to tell a very quick story since we're on an Irish riff, so just indulge me for a second. So I grew up in a big Irish Catholic family. My mom is one of 9 kids. I have 53 cousins.
Wow.
When I was 16, Joe loves the story. When I was 16 years old and I came out to my mom and dad, they were wonderfully loving and accepting, and they brought me over to my grandfather's house, who was the patriarch of the family, to come out to him. And I was scared to death. I was 16. And I walked into his home, and he said, "Sit down, I'm gonna make you something to eat." And then he looked at me and said, "You're making me nervous. What do you have to tell me?" And I said, "Well, Grandpa, I just want to let you know." "Spit it out, you're making me nervous." And I said, "I want to let you know I came out to Mom and Dad, I'm gay." He goes, "Oh my God, Corey, you scared me. I thought you were going to tell me you were a Republican." He says, "You can be gay, you just can never vote for or be a Republican." And I have held up that promise ever since. As has Danny Drum. Thanks, Danny.
Well, thank you so much, Corey. And I see now we've been joined by the great controller of the city of New York, somebody who's been a great friend of mine as well, and who I'm very proud to support in his race. That is Controller Scott Stringer.
Thank you very much. So my goal today, in addition to joining 40,000 people to march in this great parade, was to try to get here before Corey Johnson spoke. Because I just don't have that kind of story. But I do want to say to all of you, we come together because this parade has great meaning, not just for Queens, but right now for the whole city. It's the second largest parade in New York. It's important. And I also just want to thank Danny Drum, who is just an extraordinary leader on education and civil rights and human rights. Give him a big round of applause. So I look forward to marching with all of you today. There's a lot of work to do in Albany in the coming days. I know our state legislators are on it, but let's face it, number one agenda in the Senate is to pass Gender Now. We got to get that done, along with rent protection. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Controller. You know, I just want to take this opportunity also to say thank you to the Speaker, because I asked that they put into the budget response a request for a liaison in the LGBT community in the Department of Education. Because I believe that we have a liaison in the Department of Education. That point person would be the person to ensure that LGBT history is taught, that anti-bullying is done, and a whole host of other LGBT issues. And so, as we move down the road in the budget process, Madam Speaker, I want to thank you for doing that. It was historic that that was even in the budget response in the City Council. Thank you very, very much. Now I'm going to go by protocol here, so I'm going to bring up our Senator Toby Ann Skavisky, who represents a large part of my City Council district as well. Senator Skavisky.
Thank you, and thank you, Danny, for not just your leadership on so many different issues, education in particular, but really for your friendship, because to me that is so important. I've known Danny for a long time, and I'm just so proud whenever I see Danny's name in the paper and know that he's been doing good things. I must tell you that vote on marriage equality really wasn't that hard for me at all. And in fact, let me tell you how come I decided to co-sponsor it. Early on, in the early days, when I represented a district that was heavily Orthodox Jewish, not to be confused with Senator Gianaris's Orthodox. Tom Duane came to me on the floor of the Senate, and he said to me, would I be a co-sponsor? I thought about it, and I said to myself, how can you say discrimination is wrong against Jewish people, African Americans, every other group, and permit it to exist in the gay community. I just thought that was a question of equal protection. I'm a former history teacher, as Danny's a teacher. How can you teach equal protection and not include one group? To me, it was a very simple vote, and I'm very proud, and I must say that we are going back to Albany for the next 2 weeks. Hopefully, we will do gender. Somehow, listening to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I'm not that optimistic, because they haven't even come into the 19th century, but nevertheless, rent regulations is obviously an important issue, and you know that we're all going to fight, because when the gay community benefits, we all do. Issues are the same, really. It's a question of equal rights, and we believe in that for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I just want to make these announcements also. We're joined by District Leader Yana Enriquez, who's over here. Yana, let's hear it for Yana. Maureen Allen is here. Where's Maureen? Thank you, Maureen. We're joined by Louis Goldstein, Bronx County Vice Chair. And I know that a few unions are in the house. United Federation of Teachers, let's thank them. United Fire Officers Association, let's hear it for them. 32 BJ is here. And I also want to mention, another historic moment. We'll get some more as Michael's going to bring them over to me. We're also in the process of working together with Andrew Berman to make the Stonewall Inn a historic landmark in New York City. So that's what we want to have happen here in New York. We need to be able to teach our people how we got to the point where the United States Supreme Court, hopefully, within the next few weeks, got to the point of making a decision that's going to be the civil rights decision of a generation. And our students need to also know that it just didn't happen in one moment. It took a whole lot of organizing, a whole lot of history to make that happen. All right, we're joined by Senator Mike Gianaris. Mike Gianaris has had the courage to stand up and be a really strong leader for so many of the things that I believe in up in Albany, who has taken on all the power structures. Mike, I really deeply appreciate what you've done and your courageousness. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you. Today is a celebration. It's a time to pause and remember all the great things we've accomplished. Congressman Crowley mentioned I was a proud yes vote on marriage. I also replaced the no vote, so it was extra impactful out in my district. So we're happy we got that done, but let's not forget there's more to be done. You've heard gender mentioned, an issue I've been working very closely with. An issue I've been working very closely with Danny on as well is the banning of conversion therapy here in New York. It's an outrageous practice that we need to stop. Other states are doing it. It's time for New York to step forward and do it as well. You got a great day for a parade. Enjoy it. Enjoy all you've accomplished, but roll up your sleeves and keep working because we have a lot more to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We've also been joined by CUNY, PSC, Professional Staff Congress, and UFCW, United Food Commercial Workers. Let's hear from them also. And Matthew Silverstein is here. Where's Matthew Silverstein? Right over there. All right, Matt. Now I'd like to hear from our esteemed Assemblyman and my good friend for years, despite being in a very conservative area, has always stood for LGBT rights, for marriage, the whole scope. That is Assemblyman. I'm going to promote you to Congressman. That didn't work out. That didn't work out too well. That didn't work out too well. Right? We tried that route already. Yeah. That is my good friend, Assemblyman David Weber.
Thank you, Danny. And I've been supporting Danny and marching with Danny well before I was an elected official. I was in the city council for 8 years, and I've been in the assembly for 5.5 years, and I've always supported LGBT issues in the assembly now. I'm a co-sponsor of Gender, which we did. I'm a co-sponsor outlawing conversion therapy. But I'm most proud, I was actually voted for what arguably is the first marriage vote, gay marriage vote anywhere in New York, which was in the city council. I think it was in 2002. which we basically, there was no states, there were no jurisdictions in the United States that recognized gay marriage, but we passed a law in the city council, Gifford Miller was speaker at the time, which basically, I think it was before you got